Roki Sasaki. Who is he? What is he? Why is he? At age 23, Roki Sasaki has become a Japanese phenomenon, and he appears to be next in line in what has become an impressive list of overseas baseball players making the journey over to MLB, looking to dominate new competition. After setting records with his groundbreaking velocity, tossing Japan's first perfect game in nearly 3 decades, and helping Team Japan win the 2023 World Baseball Classic, Roki Sasaki has decided to forego a potential blockbuster free agent contract to come to America earlier than anyone expected. With a 9-figure price tag feasibly off the table, any MLB team could be in competition for Roki Sasaki's services, so let's figure out who this guy is, what he brings to the table, and where he's going to end up in 2025. It's rare that we herald a high school athlete as the next big thing, because it'll come back to bite you more than you expect. But some of the best case examples, like LeBron James or Bryce Harper, have not only lived up to the billing, but exceeded it. Roki Sasaki fell into this category over in Japan, deemed the next Shohei Ohtani at just 17 years old, and with very good reason. He quickly became one of the most famous high school talents in Japanese baseball history, with his 101-mile-per-hour fastball making headlines when he was just 17 years old, breaking the record previously set by Shohei Ohtani not long before. In his senior year, pushing a lackluster high school team to reach the national tournament, Sasaki had the week of a lifetime. He first pitched a 6-inning no-hitter, then just 2 days later, pitched a 12-inning completed game where he hurled 194 pitches and also hit the game-winning 2-run homer. While his team missed out on that national tournament, Roki Sasaki knew that baseball was a retreat from real life long before it was a mastered craft. When he was just 9 years old, he tragically lost his father, his grandparents, and his childhood home during the horrible earthquake and tsunami that hit Japan in March of 2011. It's a burden that he still carries now, noting in a 2022 interview that it's been 11 years, but he still cannot easily erase the agony and sadness that he felt at the time. Removed from his childhood home and placed in a nursing home for the duration of his upbringing, Sasaki found baseball as an escape from a hellish reality. Soon that escape became a destiny. Roki Sasaki was selected first overall in the 2019 NPB draft by the Chiba Marines. He wouldn't make his league debut until 2 years later, though, immediately turning heads as a rookie with his already established electric heater, a diving split finger that's become something of a signature among dominant Japanese aces, and a wipeout slider that showed flashes of greater potential. But after his first-year campaign where his numbers were great, his sophomore season elevated his status to utterly dominant. For evidence of this, you need to look no further than their 13th game of the 2022 regular season in a matchup with the Oryx Buffaloes. Led by Masataka Yoshida, who'd be bound for the Boston Red Sox in a year's time, the Buffaloes were coming off a first-place finish in the Pacific League and their first Japan Series appearance since 1996. This lineup was no joke, and I think everybody in the building knew that, except for Roki Sasaki. The 20-year-old fireballer made mincemeat of his opponents, striking out Yoshida to end the first frame. Then he struck out the side in the 2nd inning. Then he did it again in the 3rd inning. And then he did it again in the 4th inning. And then he did it again in the 5th inning. Sasaki not only set the world record for consecutive strikeouts with 13 in a row, he shattered it, with the previous record set by Aaron Nola, Corbin Burns, and Tom Seaver of 10 being blown out of the water. Sasaki finished a perfect game with his 19th punch-out against Yutaro Sugimoto, the NPB's home run king from the year prior. Sasaki punched out Masataka Yoshida 3 times in this game, a batter who struck out the least amount of times of any qualified hitter in Japan in the 2022 season. Roki Sasaki's seismic performance ended a 28-year perfect game drought in Japan. What's even crazier is that in his next start, Sasaki lengthened his streak of perfection, tossing 8 more perfect innings against the Hokkaido Nippon Ham Fighters. His manager, Chicago White Sox World Series champion Tadahito Oguchi, took Sasaki out of the game before he could get to the 9th inning, robbing him of the chance of becoming the only pitcher ever with back-to-back perfect games. But Sasaki's performance was symbolic in a strange way. While he conquered fierce competition in the Oryx Buffaloes, that same Buffalo team would go on to win the Japan Series that year, while Sasaki's Marines would go on to finish 5th place in their own division, very far away from even a playoff berth. This came in spite of Sasaki putting together one of the best pitching seasons in recent Japanese baseball history. His 2.02 ERA is a top 6 mark of any qualified starter in Japan in the 2020s, alongside some names you'd recognize like Kodai Senga and Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Despite having made the playoffs with the Marines before, perhaps team success is one of the contributing reasons why Roki Sasaki feels like he's ready to come to MLB. He's hungry for the biggest stage possible, and he's already shown all of us that he's seemingly ready for that challenge with his performance in the 2023 World Baseball Classic. Alongside Shohei Ohtani and Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Sasaki was a member of Team Japan in the tournament, the roster that would end up taking home the gold medal. He dominated the Czech Republic, striking out 8 of his 11 batters faced and allowing 0 earned runs. Facing a tougher challenge in the semifinals against Team Mexico, Sasaki was hit around a bit more, surrendering 3 runs in 4 innings of work, but still his performance impressed many American eyes who were watching him work for the first time. Some anonymous scouts from Baseball America even compared him to a young prospect form of Steven Strasburg, who of course went first overall and was dominant for a decade in MLB. This excited many at the prospect of him coming over to the US, though many, including myself, didn't believe that he'd bypass a massive free agent deal to instead go through the complicated posting system, yet here we are. So before we get into this whole MLB situation and free agency and all that, let's figure out what exactly makes Sasaki so dominant. It's not just that he throws hard and has breaking pitches that play off it well, but additionally, his breaking pitches are almost one of a kind. In Lance Brozdowski's great analysis of Roki Sasaki's pitch data, Lance provides a great visual representation of what makes Sasaki's splitter different. Some of the best splitters in MLB, like that of Kodai Senga, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Logan Gilbert, and Kevin Gausman, move downward after tunneling a fastball shape, which is considered traditional but still effective. Roki Sasaki's splitter not only breaks downward, but it also breaks horizontally, giving it a cutting effect that basically no other pitcher can emulate. This, coupled with the fact that his fastball blows out the average metrics of an MLB four-seamer, albeit with a different baseball used in Japan, and you have a pitcher that profiles to be uniquely dominant at the MLB level if he can stay healthy. But that if is a big if, because even right now, there are questions circling around Sasaki's health. According to Jim Bowden's article for The Athletic, posted this year, Sasaki's velocity was actually down 2 to 3 ticks in 2024, dealing with an oblique issue and shoulder fatigue. It's no secret that Sasaki won't be deployed without some precautions regardless of where he signs, with many suggesting an innings limit no higher than 130 frames for his inaugural season. Most starting pitchers that average a similar velocity to what Sasaki is capable of end up going down with significant arm injuries at some point in their career. Even if you just take a look at the top 10 leaders for fastball velocity from last season, all 10 of these guys have suffered some sort of serious injury, whether it's to their throwing arm or some other body part. Granted, Sasaki has always been handled carefully too, ever since that 192 pitch complete game that I mentioned before. He only pitched in workouts in 2020, which should have been his rookie season, and he was lifted from the game on the cusp of a second straight perfecta with pitch count concerns. He's never exceeded 130 innings in any professional season of his career, and though someone like Yoshinobu Yamamoto pitched just 108 innings between the regular season and playoffs combined in his first MLB go, the understanding is that someone like Yamamoto is capable of a much larger workload. At this current point in time, the same cannot be said for Roki Sasaki. With all of that in mind, at the end of his brief tenure in the NPB, Sasaki has pitched over 400 innings to the tune of an ERA near 2, a whip below 0.9, and a strikeout rate of over 11 batters per every 9 innings. These numbers are simply absurd, especially considering the amount of time he's been able to sustain them over. Heading towards his age 23 campaign, Sasaki likely could have broke more records, won more awards, and become even more of a Japanese icon than he already is. But instead, he's opting for a more daunting path, becoming a global athletic icon on the biggest stage possible with the toughest competition possible. So let's try and figure out what team he's going to try and accomplish that all with. Before we go on with today's video, I got to thank Pikkit for sponsoring today's video. Pikkit is an app where you can centralize all your sports betting into one place. The app tells you what teams, players, sports, and bet types you're most profitable on. If you're a stat nerd like myself, this is a great way to keep track of your data when you're sports betting. You can also see your friends' bets and our bets if you feel like tailing or fading us. Download the Pikkit app right now and use promo code JOHNBOY, and that way you can earn $3 or $100 paid directly to your PayPal or Venmo. Scan the QR code on the screen or go to pikkit.com today. Thanks to Pikkit for sponsoring today's video. Now let's get back to Roki Sasaki. Roki Sasaki has made the decision to leave Japan early. Had he waited until age 25, Sasaki could have entered the market as an international free agent and had the chance to earn a blockbuster free agent contract. For example, Shota Imanaga waited and received $53 million from the Cubs. Kodai Senga waited and received $75 million from the Mets. Masataka Yoshida waited and received $90 million from the Red Sox. And of course, Yoshinobu Yamamoto waited and received a record-setting $325 million from the Dodgers. It's an understatement to say that Sasaki has left an absurd amount of money on the table, and I want that to be known. Being posted now, Roki Sasaki is limited to rookie status as an MLB player, meaning he can only earn the major league minimum salary plus a signing bonus that is capped depending on what the team's budget is for amateur spending. That latter piece of information could be the reason why we won't know where Roki Sasaki is signing until January. The current international amateur signing period ends in December, and a new period with new higher bonus pools will begin in mid-January. So when Sasaki signs, the highest possible bonus that select teams can offer him will exceed no more than $7.5 million. Life-changing money for sure, but not nearly as much as the Japanese superstars that preceded him. It's honestly a shock that the Marines even agreed to post him this offseason, being that the organization has a lot more to gain if they held him on until after his age 25 season. Apparently, their rejection of his posting request a year ago soured the relationship between player and team. But for reference, the Oryx Buffaloes received a $50 million payout from the Dodgers when they finalized the signing of Yoshinobu Yamamoto. So this is a fairly complicated situation, but with all of this information at hand, I think I'm ready to make my prediction on where Roki Sasaki is going to sign. My prediction? The Colorado Rockies. Why? Because they have one thing they can offer him that no one else can. They can change their name to the Colorado Rockies. Thank you for watching today's video. Please subscribe. If I had to make a guess based on the information we have, I would narrow down the destination to about 4 different teams. The most popular pick right now is the Dodgers, and while I do include them, I think there is a chance they can lose out for a couple reasons. I'm not sure that Sasaki wants to play in the shadow of both Yamamoto and Ohtani, and this could also limit the potential endorsement deals for him in his early MLB years, since he wouldn't even be the most dominant Japanese player on his own team. I also have Sasaki wanting to play for a team that's already competitive and not in the midst of a rebuild, which means I have teams like the Mets, Yankees, and Orioles getting a more favorable shot at bringing him on, all of whom fall into the second and third tier of the international budget in 2025. While I reiterate that the Dodgers are the logical, safe pick, I differ from that to make things a little interesting here. While I don't fully believe it, I also don't fully doubt that Roki Sasaki won't end up with the San Diego Padres. This is a theory, but I have to imagine that the prospect of directly competing against his Japanese superstar counterparts and joining baseball's most intense rivalry could be an enticing factor in his decision. Roki Sasaki also has a pre-existing relationship with longtime Padres ace Yu Darvish, who helped him refine the pitch grip of his slider. They have had a long-standing relationship, and Darvish has also been lobbying for Sasaki's presence for a while. The Padres also have a more present need for Roki Sasaki, with Joe Musgrove missing all of next year with Tommy John surgery, whereas the Dodgers presently have 10 decent starting pitching options and will likely add another this offseason. It kind of depends on what kind of competitor Roki Sasaki is. If he wants the comfort of an existing World Series champion with countrymen that are just as talented as he is that he can play alongside, then it's going to be the Dodgers. But if he wants that rivalry to make a name for himself and carve out his own niche and own star status in MLB, I think a lot of teams have a chance. But if nothing else, I hope this video gave you a little bit of clarity into his situation, who he is, and what he brings to the table in 2025. If you enjoyed the video, please consider leaving a like and subscribing to my YouTube channel. I'd really appreciate it. It goes a long way. But that'll do it for me, and I'll see you guys next time.